when you hear that music, you know what time it is. Time for the Rec Poker Podcast. Our own dear beloved regular host, Jim Reed, is living the dream at the WSOP. He and Taylor Moss, if you haven't been following along, have been playing the Monster Stack and doing quite well. If you haven't checked out their daily vlog, you should do that. There's some fun episodes there. I'm Chris Jones. I'm filling in. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game. And I'm delighted to have you all join us as part of the podcast. And I wouldn't be able to do this without some of the Wrecking Crew members who make it all possible along with me. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can hear from them right now.
I am John Somsky. I'm also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 just about everywhere.
We're doing something a little different tonight. So we've got a pre-recorded guest that we'll get to in a little bit. This is part of Kim's empowerment group. She did an interview with Lupe Soto. Lupe is the founder of the Ladies International Poker Series, or LIPS, and a member of the Senior Poker Tour and the Women's Hall of Fame, Vegas Connected, Poker Gives, the Women's Poker Association. So she's a pretty accomplished person in poker, and I think that this is a pretty great interview that kind of comes through as part of Kim's empowerment group. So we'll be tuning into that in a little bit. But before we do, we're going to do a little bit of a strategy segment. We don't generally do this on the Chats edition, but we're going to do a little taste of it. This gives you a sense of what you might hear if you tune into our Forums edition episodes. But also because we have a recorded guest, we thought we'd kind of dive into a little bit of strategy to sort of get everything rolling. So Rob and John, I think are we good on sound stuff? Should I keep chatting a bit? Rob, you been playing any poker lately?
Not really. No.
Just
been doing a lot of studying, getting ready for my book study coming up this Wednesday. So
okay. Well, and what remind me again, what book are we jumping into?
We're in the second session. We'll start the second session this Wednesday of GTO Poker Simplified by Dara O'Carney with Barry Carter. And it's really cool. It's really cool. I think one of the revelations, I guess, that is coming out in this episode is your value bets are what drives your entire action. It doesn't, the bluffs bluffs are romantic. Everybody loves them, bluff catching, the hero call and blah, blah, blah. Everybody loves seeing that, but that's not what it's about. It's really about getting value from your value bets. And so, we got sound.
We got sound. It sounds like we're alive and kicking for our live audience as well. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, that idea about value bets. If you're just tuning in, we're doing a pre-recorded guest. You'll hear a little bit about that in a bit, but we're going to start off with a little bit of a strategy segment based on a hand that I played just yesterday. And full disclosure, I think that I completely butchered this hand, but I think we could all learn from it. And I think it's a kind of thing that maybe we're all butchering, or maybe it's just me and we can just crucify me while we talk about this. But so we are late in a tournament. We're not quite, it's like we're approaching the bubble, but we're not quite in the money. This hand has 3 players involved. So we are dealt Ace of Hearts, 7 of Clubs, and the button opens to 2x the big blind from a stack of about, let me just go back and look at these stacks here.
About 23 big blinds.
Yeah, about 23 big blinds. That's right. And we ourselves have a pretty healthy stack. We're sitting, I think, around 80 big blinds. And the other relevant stack in this hand is the small blind, who is quite short. I think they're in the, if I'm remembering correctly, they're even lower. They've got like 15 big blinds or so. So the button min opens, the small blind calls. Now I think already there's some decision points here. I never know how to approach these spots when people are so short and they make these kind of calls and we're multi-way. On one hand, we've got, I think, two potentially very wide ranges, ones that I want to attack from the big blind with an ace in my hand, that I might want to 3-bet these kinds of holdings. However, when somebody is that short and they call, I don't know if they're ever really folding very much. And is this really a hand we want to get that involved with? So I elect to just flat here. That might have been mistake number one.
Could you repeat, what was it that you hold, Chris?
I have the ace of hearts and the 7 of clubs.
Okay. So, I mean, you're 28 big blinds effective, which typically when you're at 28 big blinds effective, you play pretty tight. Mm-hmm. You aren't doing a lot of speculation. You could probably get the 28. And how much was the small blind?
It's like 15. That's the one that actually made me the most nervous. When they flat this, it's just like I don't know.
Yeah. I think
it was 23 big blinds to start.
23 on the button, and like it's like 50. Am I right on this? It's like 15 in the small blind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So 23 on the. So going back to the thing that we had with Chris Fox Wallace when he did that training seminar, it was the 20 big blinds is where you really want to do a shove if you're going to do anything here.
Yeah. Right.
I just don't know if. I mean, you do have a blocker for the ace.
Yep.
But it seems like anything you get called by, you're going to be in pretty rough shape.
Yep.
On.
All of those thoughts cross. That's what I'm also like, can I just open fold against this spot with an ace? I don't know if I can. It's just one big blind to see a flop. So
I think you have a squeeze spot, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you're the guy in between you and the button, the small blind, is going to put a lot of pressure on the big blind or on the button.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do 3-bet, he's going to have to think, well, if I call this or I jam, I'm still have to worry about that guy in the small blind who could be ahead of me. And the big blind, even at 23 big blinds to start with, the button is still going to be pretty wide in his opening range.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's an argument for a squeeze here.
Yeah.
But let's go as played.
So as played, part of the reasoning I did this, but I think it does run me into trouble. As played, we go to 3 ways to a flop, and the flop comes King of Hearts, 8 of Hearts, 7 of Diamonds. And again, we hold the Ace of Hearts, which is a little bit key, I think, in this hand. So King of Hearts, 8 of Hearts, 7 of Diamonds. We flop bottom pair with a backdoor flush draw. The small blind checks. I elect to check. I don't think there's probably anything controversial there. And the button bets pretty small, about 2 and a bit big blinds, 2.5 big blinds into this pot, which the small blind calls. And now we're sitting there, bottom pair, backdoor flush draw. I think probably, and it's a small bet, I don't think there's anything we can really do here but call this. I would argue, but unless somebody wants to argue with me.
Well, I would also say that there's an opportunity here for a semi-bluff. Just like I say, I've just been reading about bluffing, I guess, in the GTO Poker Simplified. And one of the things he talked about is semi-bluffing with backdoor draws. And he also looked at, he was talking about on a flop of, say, let's say you had, instead of the 8 of hearts, it was the two of hearts. And you had 2-3. You're better off semi-bluffing with the 2-3 than you are with, let's say, a pair of threes, because you have 5 outs as opposed to just 2 outs. So with the ace-7, you've got 2 sevens that you can hit, plus you've got 3 aces that you can hit, not to mention the backdoor nut flush draw. So you do have a lot of opportunity here to improve to a very powerful or very strong hand. So in this case, this could be a spot where you could be putting in a semi bluff. A lot of people are not going to do that. I mean, it's a very tough spot to do that with, especially with that third player in there. Yep. I mean, I think if you're heads up, it might be a better decision.
So what type of bet sizing do you think you could get by? Could you get by with, going to like 6.5 big blinds? That's a really small raise, but they also have really small stacks. So,
yeah, I think in this thing, a solver would probably go with a small bet size, like 2.5 times the original raise. So the original raise was what, 2.5? Yeah. Or the original bet was 2.5? So yeah, you might go to what, 5, 2.5 would be like about 6.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
intrigued by this idea, Rob. However, so this is a raise fold then, right? Should we see?
Oh yeah, if you get jammed on, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And part of the problem here is I think that when we do this, heart draws that we're ahead of currently are probably, they're so short that they're probably just being like, I don't know if we can get them off of a heart draw by raising here. Probably not. But I am sort of intrigued by the idea of this, and the multi-way factor really complicates this, right, to some degree. So as played, I think this starts to even get a little dicier, mostly as we get to the river. But as played, I elect to call, and the turn is the 4 of hearts. So now our board is King of Hearts, 8 of Hearts, 7 of Diamonds, 4 of Hearts, 3 hearts on the board. We now have the nut flush draw, the nut flush blocker, and third pair. And it checks around. All 3 players check. Thoughts? Are you ever betting here?
On the previous street, who was it that bet the 2.5?
The button, the original opener.
Yeah, see, the button doesn't necessarily have to have a flush draw, right?
Right.
Because he was the original aggressor on this kind of board, on this kind of, King 7-8, he's going to be probably c-betting his entire range. So I don't know that there's a reason to think that he necessarily has a flush draw. Now, this card definitely hits your range much better than his range. So there is an argument for, and I've done this in certain situations where I'm calling from the big blind, and we get that low card that kind of fits in with our range much better than a open range. Maybe not so much from the button, but from an earlier position raise. When you see this kind of card come out, this is a great card to bluff from the big blind. And especially since you have the nut flush draw now. So this could definitely be the card that you could come out with a bet. Now, obviously, we're still talking about a couple of very short stacks. And again, you're still semi-bluffing because you haven't made it yet. All you have is third pair. So if anybody jams on you, then you probably have to fold. But I think there is an opportunity to semi-bluff with this hand.
Yeah.
For those two reasons.
Yeah. I kind of like, I think this as I kind of was just playing in flow and maybe not thinking about this much, but I do like a bet here, I think, even though people are so short. The problem is this I get really thrown when you're multi-way and a very short stack player is involved in this, because I just feel like they're just like this itchy trigger figure just waiting to just kind of blast into these, they're waiting for their moment, basically. But as played, we check around. And the river is a welcome 7 of spades. So our board now is King of Hearts, 8 of Hearts, 7 of Diamonds, 4 of Hearts, 7 of Spades. We are holding the Ace of Hearts and the 7 of 7 of Clubs. Small blind checks. We make a fairly healthy bet into now a pot of 36,000. We bet 21. So we bet about 8 big blinds into a pot that has 20, like 14, 15 big blinds. So we bet, more than half pot, about 60% pot. And the button, well, first of all, I'll tell you what happened, then we can talk about it. The button shoves. And then the small blind folds and it's back on us. So A, what do you think of this bet? And then B, now what are you doing?
So from trying to read the other player point of view, it seems awfully strong, because anything middling that the button would have had, they should have been betting out on the turn there, and they chose to check the turn. And the fact that that now they're re-raising you, if they're doing it for value, they got you beat. I can't imagine anything they're doing it for that they don't have to beat.
That's for sure. And I guess
this is not a very good bluff line also, to my mind.
Right.
So I think I'd go with what a wise man once said, and they always have it on the river.
Yeah.
I think his name was Rob Washam, if I remember.
I have said that before.
Yeah. And the other factor is we hold, where we were happy with the Ace of Hearts for a while, we now hold, I think, the most possible bluff card left. Like, if they're gonna bluff with something, they're probably bluffing with the naked Ace of Hearts here. And we hold it, so we're blocking their bluffs, which is not good.
Right. Also, because of the way we played it, we don't have any full houses. Unless we happen to have pocket 4s that we checked, hoping to get in a check raise.
Right.
But other than that, we don't have any full houses, because we would have played it much differently if we had pocket 8s or pocket kings.
Mm-hmm.
So, or even if we had pocket 7s and got quads, we wouldn't have, it would have played out much differently. So very difficult for us to have any of those hands, any of those full houses or quads. So the only thing we could have better than him would be a flush. But again, if we had a flush, we would have played that much differently. Also, we probably would have bet out on the turn with the flush, because we wouldn't want to get checked back on.
Right.
We wouldn't want to try to get the check raise in, because now we have the flush, and then if we had the flush, the chances of them having a flush that would call us or would bet out are totally gone. So yeah, I think we can't really represent anything. So our bet here was very much 2 pair or trip 7s.
Right. And okay, so here's the dilemma that I often am figuring out on these rivers, when we're dealing with short stacks, we've got a big stack. We hit a card on the river, which we think has done very good things for us. We make a big value bet, and then we get some information from our opponent when they shove into us for not much more, that our hand is probably not good. But where I get sort of like, if my opponent is capable of bluffing at all, I have to call this. It's just, I think it's a really good bluff catcher. It's gonna, but does anyone ever have a bluff here? Does anyone ever take their like final? What are they shoving over the top here? They're shoving like
about a pot size bet.
Yeah, it's even less than that.
Well, no, because it was 35,000 and you put in 21, so that made it 47, and he put in 48.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right.
So it's right around a pot size bet.
And the way he played his line, he bet the flop, checked the turn when the flush came in, and then bet the river. It's screaming full house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd bet $10 blind right now. That's what he had.
Yep. Well, you're here. I think this is a terrible call on my part. I did ultimately call, but I think it's pretty god awful. But I'm always like, I've put so much in here. I don't know. It's a flawed way of thinking when I get to these spots. And they had a flush actually, John.
That surprises me actually.
Yeah, you might even think a flush might just call this bet.
Because I think so the best they could have had would have been a queen high flush.
They had a
10 high flush.
10 high flush.
Okay, so when you have those lower flushes, you want to protect yourself against the naked ace. Exactly what you had. So I think them checking the turn was a horrible play.
Yeah, and it really threw me off too when the turn got checked, and then I got this, because I think you're absolutely right. That turn check is one that should not be scared of maybe a fourth heart, or everyone's scared of a fourth heart at that point, even if you got a set there, because you're not counting on the board pairing, but you're like kind of like, well, I'm behind and I hope the board pairs. So anyway, I think it's one where ultimately I had to find a fold here. And I think this is one I needed to go in thinking right away that it was a bet fold situation, and I did not find the fold in this particular hand. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's hard to find a lot of bluffs here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's like, especially with us, if we didn't have the ace of hearts, I could justify this call a little bit more, but having the ace of hearts, I think is a terrible card to have right here.
Yep. Because that blocks blocks the most common bluff card. Although you were getting the odds on your call at the end were not bad. I mean, you only had to be right 33% of the time, even less, because you're only calling 27,000 into a pot of 94,000 now.
Right. Yeah, your price is pretty amazing.
1 to 3. So yeah, you only need 25% equity to call there.
Right? Do you think he's bluffing 25% of the time though?
I don't.
No, but he could be overvaluing ace king. If he's overvaluing ace king. So you got to keep in mind that in these types of things, all of a sudden the board pairs, and he's thinking, okay, now if someone had, a pair of eights, ace eight, something like that, they've got two pair, they might bet out. But I have now two pair because I have ace king. And when the flush comes in, if a guy's got ace king, he's looking at, wow, there's a flush out there. I think I better check back. And then now all of a sudden he's got 2 pair with the top kicker. So, I don't know. I'm just, you only need 25% equity.
Right.
To call there. And if he's overvaluing his, pair of queens, ace king.
He could have a worse like 7, that. Right? It's possible. Seems unlikely, but it's possible.
Right. So, there are some hands that might do this with a short stack. Hoping to get a fold from worse. Obviously, they're only going to get called by better. But even the hand that he shoved with could be called by better, because there's 3 or 4 other flushes out there that are better than his.
Well, if you have thoughts, send them to there's a forum post in the forums. You can go in and give your thoughts if you think this was, if you think anything about how you might play this differently. Go check out our forums post on this. It's a post titled River Spot pretty recently that I posted, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts as well. So with that, I think we're going to shift gears and transition into the interview with Lupe Soto. And then we'll be back to talk about some rec poker stuff. But enjoy the interview coming shortly.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to have our guest here today. I have Lupe Soto. Is that Soto? Is that the pronunciation? She is a big heavyweight industry professional here. She's like one of the biggest players in one of the biggest players in the industry, especially for when it comes to women. She is the founder of the Ladies International Poker Series, also known as LIPS. She's the founder of the Senior Poker Tour, the Women in Poker Hall of Fame. Her charities are Vegas Connected and Poker Gives, and she's also one of the founders of the WPA, which is the Women's Poker Association, which has how many members to date now? Maybe
a lot.
A lot.
I don't know, 6,000, something like that.
Everyone is in the know is a member, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you're a woman poker player, you need to be a member.
That's right. She's well known in the industry as an advocate for women in poker. She has a background as a professional therapist. In 2002, she opened Poker Chicks, and that led to LIPS, which is the tour that runs everywhere now. In 2008, she founded the Women in Poker Hall of Fame, and she was also inducted into the Women in Poker Hall of Fame in 2018. Poker Gives was one of her big charities that was originally founded by Mike Sexton, Linda Johnson, Jan Fisher, and Lisa Tenner. And I think you took over in 2015 or something like that.
Well, I originally helped them in their, kind of like the building of the foundation and stuff. And then I took up that when they wanted to retire and stop working so much, then they said, would you just take it over? So, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So let's start, Lupe, by you giving us a little background. How did poker come into your life?
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, I'll be honest with you. I was one of those girlfriends who sat behind the boyfriend when we went on date night. And we lived about a little over a mile away from a local casino in San Diego. And on date night, we would each take $100 on Friday nights, and we would go down to the casino, and I would blow my $100 in about 2 seconds on a blackjack table. And then I would spend the rest of the evening watching my boyfriend play. I think it was 3-6 stud, in the poker room. And at that time, that's what was played, was stud high low. And then near the second or third year, they started introducing Texas Hold'em. it was around, but it wasn't being played so much in the card rooms in California at that time. So I think it really was the day that I kicked him under the table pretty hard because I was upset that he was in the hand all the way to the end. And I said, what are you doing? Why were you in that hand? And he goes, you know what? You see that girl over there? You go get your own table and you go play. And here it is. Fast forward, over 20 years later, and he's not even in poker anymore. We're not together anymore. And I still love the game.
That's amazing. I did forget to say that you're also a big poker player. Like you've got quite a few caches, and
I am not a poker player at tournaments. No. So my hand and mob has like $200. Okay. I'm not it's really kind of ironic that I spent my entire career in the poker industry pretty much promoting tournaments, but I'm not a tournament player. I'm a mixed game cash game player. That's my passion.
And are you still playing? Do you still play?
All the time.
Where do you like to play?
I got called today and they said, hey, we got a mixed game going at such and such time. And I was like, well, I got something already I got to do. But yeah, I try to play at least, 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh, that's amazing. Are those private games or is that?
One is a private game. During COVID was kind of like, shut all the poker rooms were shut down, everything. And then when they started to open back up, there were still a few of us that used to play a home game together. And we made like a contract and said, okay, you want to play in the game? You cannot do A, B, and C. You can't go anywhere. You can't visit anybody. You can't do anything. And those for about the first 9 months, I didn't even play it. And then after I got my vaccine, I started playing that until the poker rooms opened up. I got my vaccine pretty early though, because of our charity, and we serve the homeless. And so they considered us critical workers or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they allowed us to get our vaccine early. So I was able to sneak in poker earlier than some others.
Well, that's great. I can't wait to be able to play again. I can't wait.
Yeah, and it's crazy because in some parts of the country in the United States, it's booming. And in other parts, it's dead. I mean, they won't even open up a poker room at all. So,
right.
It's hit and miss.
Right. And I did see pictures from the April series that was run at South Point and the June series that was run, and there's only 2 months apart, but they look totally different. One has everybody masked and there's partitions up, and the other one, nobody has a mask and everybody's playing together. Do you think that it's really under control?
No. I believe that I preferred the April event. It was kind of crazy because everybody and their mothers who were cooped up for all that time said, I'm going. We had numbers like we hadn't seen in years. I mean, even pre-COVID, we didn't see those kind of numbers. And then all of a sudden,
there was partition,
and people would run up to me and they were wearing masks and glasses and hats. And I was like, and they're like, Lupe, it's so great to see you. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Because I couldn't recognize anybody.
Right.
Everybody was all masked up and everything. It was crazy. So it was so much fun. I also preferred it because I think people were still very careful. So there was a lot of hand sanitizing going on and a lot of, conscious hugging, asking if somebody's been vaccinated before they did it and all that stuff. And then fast forward 2 months to June, it was like we didn't have nothing going on. And I was shocked. I felt a little more secure during April than I did in June. But, I'm vaccinated, and I would tell everybody, that I was vaccinated. Right. But man, it's just, poker's like a very touchy-feely game.
Yeah. It just looked like such a big turnaround in such a short time. And I thought, I'm assuming some people still wear masks and.
Yes. As a matter of fact, Las Vegas, because I live in Las Vegas. And so I see what's happening here. Right. And we are a petri dish here. Everybody and their mothers decide to come to Vegas to play. And they, there's super crowds here. We had 4th of July weekend. We've also got a significant uptick in all of our Delta stuff with the coronavirus, and our hospitals are full and all that stuff. And so I found that right after the 4th of July, and mind you, I'm talking about 1 week later, in the poker rooms now, I would say over 50% of the people are wearing masks again. Because here in Las Vegas, it's still very prevalent.
Right. So we'll see what happens by WSOP time. It's like,
I don't know. Well, I'm hoping that, the international market will be open for those people to come. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen in Las Vegas. Because of our significant increase over the 4th of July. I don't know I doubt if they'll ever shut us down again. I doubt if they will dial back the precautions all the way to social distancing and all that. But I think that they might even put those masks back in place as a mandate when you're in the casinos, which I think is a good idea. I mean, there was a lot of people who got sick over this last, series and stuff. So.
Right. Wow.
We forget we still have a coronavirus pandemic going on.
I know. It just looked like it was suddenly over. And I said, how can that be? But it's not.
And it's so not. Yeah.
It's just everybody's just so wishing that they could get back to normal.
Oh, in a perfect world, everybody will have a booster by October. All the borders will be open, and all those people will have been able to get at least the first set of vaccines, and we can, relax a little more and have a great event. That's my goal anyway. I hope so.
Right. Well, okay. So let me ask you a couple of things. How about you tell me about your charities and how there's two, at least two you're involved with, right? In a big way.
Well, I think really they're one and the same. Vegas Connected is the umbrella company. It's the charity called Vegas Connected. Poker Gives is the fundraising arm in the poker world for that funds all the work that we do in Vegas Connected. And in Vegas Connected, we have 3 main divisions. The first one is the homeless, and we feed the homeless every week. It's a big undertaking. That is not something that we did before. We did it we used to do hard goods, like just clothing and towels and toiletries, which we used to collect during our events and stuff. And people would bring us, when they were staying in their hotels, their baggies and all the toiletries. And then COVID hit, and we went to go set up when COVID hit, and all these people hadn't eaten. They can't panhandle anymore. Nothing was open. So there weren't people moving around so that they could, they would panhandle a lot to be able to get their meals for cash, or there weren't people out there actually serving them. So it changed our entire focus. And all of a sudden we were feeding people. That night that we discovered everybody's pulling out of their pockets whatever we had in money, and we went and bought a bunch of pizzas and started, distributing them to everybody who was there. And then we realized, wow, this is crazy. What are these people going to do during COVID? So that changed our focus, and we literally we now have a full operation of volunteers who every Monday we cook and we serve in 2 locations, and they're both literally dirt lots where a huge tent city has cropped up, and we serve about 150 in one location and about 125 to 150 in another location, all in the same night. And so that's what we do with our homeless program. And also, and it kind of overlaps into our other program. It's called For the Boots. And that's our military services program. We have a relationship with the Air Force Base here in Las Vegas and up in Reno. And if they have a family that they cannot serve for whatever reason, they can't help them, then they give them by referral to us, and we set out to help them in whatever it is that they need. And also in the homeless population, we look for homeless veterans so that we can reintroduce them into the system so they can start receiving the services that they deserve. So it's kind of a twofold in that program. And our third program is called the Vegas Youth Network, and we supply Title I schools here with backpacks and school supplies and uniforms and all kinds of things to prepare kids for a successful year. We have a lot of very under poverty line families in these Title I schools that they won't send their kids to school because the kids don't have shoes, or they don't have the proper uniform, or they outgrew their clothes from the summer. So they need those kinds of things. And then the last thing that we do is there's a population of homeless high school students, and we help them throughout the year with clothing and backpacks and, textbooks and food or whatever it is that they need, during and those high school students, it's really unfortunate because they're not adult enough to get services as adults, and they're too young, or they're older than the cutoff, which is 13. So if you're homeless and you're between 13 and 18, there's nothing for you. Yeah. So that's what we target is that group through the school systems. They refer to us, and we just, set out to do what we got to do. So that's pretty much what we do. It's a lot.
That's amazing. That's a lot of work. That's amazing work.
It is. And our entire organization is 100% volunteer. Nobody gets paid a dime.
Do you do a lot of fundraising within the poker community then?
Oh, yeah. Whenever we have an event, we set up, we have a big merchandise area, and, we are always telling you, go buy something. We have things that are like impulse buys, $10, $20. And, we refund whatever we paid for the stuff, but then the funds that are profit go back into the services that we provide. And also we have charity poker tournaments. We have the tag team switch. I don't know if you've ever played it before. It's a tag team where two people
Elizabeth
get to play.
And I came second one year.
Yeah,
there you go.
Runner up. We're here.
That's fantastic. So tag team switch literally has been trademarked for the use for charity only. So if anybody wants to play that game, they have to either pay a license fee to the charity for them to be able to play the game, or we host the tournament ourselves, and then the proceeds come to the charity.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's really good. All right. Well, let's get on to some poker and empowering players, specifically women. Like, we're trying to get more women into the game, and we don't have a big enough percentage representation in this game today. And I just wonder why you think more women don't play the game, and what we can do as individuals or groups like Rec Poker to bring more women into the game, or specifically.
I just love that you guys are called Rec Poker. I don't know how you got your name, but Rec Poker is like, bing, it's for all of us oldies who, back in the mid 90s when the internet was just starting, the way that we communicated was on boards. I don't know if you guys were familiar with that, but it was like
message boards kind of thing.
Yeah, there was a section. It was under rec meant recreation, so there was like baseball, football, and then they had poker or gambling or casino or different ways to communicate. And literally, there are huge, people who've been around the block for a while now, that of numbers of people have gotten together, and every year they meet in Atlantic City and they meet in Las Vegas, and it's now called Barge and At Large. And those are the two big events that happen. And people have been around since Rec Poker back in the day. So anyway, sorry, dear. And your question was?
My question was, why do you think more women don't play live poker?
Oh, okay.
And how to get more women into it, including us as a group?
Those are great questions. And we have 3 different things that we know. We just conducted a huge survey. And because we knew as an industry, we came together. There was a summit that was held by the World Poker Tour, I want to say 3 years ago. And at that summit, we broke out into sessions, and we had players, we had industry people, we had operators, and tournament directors. And we all like just tried to peel back the layers to figure out exactly what it was, the barriers. And we came up with about 8 or so things, and then, you know, prioritized them as to where we thought it was. And the very, very, very top number one answer was that it is an intimidating environment, and it's not a friendly place for a lot of people who are new to enter, especially women. And so that being the case, we had to then strategize from that point. What are those things that are literally the barriers from allowing people to enter? Well, we have partnered with an organization called Poker Power, and it's POWHER, Poker Power.
We actually had Xuan Liu as our guest last month. So
fantastic.
We were talking about it. Yeah.
They're dedicated to teaching 1 million women how to play poker. And their target is very young women, high school, college, also groups of women. And when I say groups, I'm talking about, you know, the red hat ladies, the bingo women, the slot players, you know, anybody who's not literally a poker player. And we're also partnering with them for 2 things. One is the education arm that they provide, the curriculum that they have and everything that's free, you know, for people who have an interest. And the second thing is for us to connect the dots. The Women's Poker Association is prepared to put advocates into card rooms everywhere. And those advocates work with poker rooms to help them develop a women's program where we can teach people who don't play currently how to come in and, you know, learn about a poker room and learn about, and I mean, literally, you know, this is an ace, this is a king, you know, those kinds of things. And then just basic mechanics of what happens. And, you know, if you are, and even me, who I'm a completely seasoned person, and I very rarely find myself intimidated in any kind of a setting. Every once in a while, I'll walk into a brand new location and I'm not there in a professional sense. I'm there as a player, and it's a little confusing. It's like, where do you go to sign up, and where's the tournament cage, and all those kinds of things. So we want to be a catalyst for information for when a player who's new walks into a room, she immediately can pop it up and say, oh, if I go into this room at XYZ location, this is where the cage is. This is who I asked for. This is where the board is. This is what it means to sign up, and all that kind of stuff. So we want to eliminate just the fundamentals of walking into a room for the first time. And secondly, we want to challenge every poker player who's out there to check themselves and their behavior while they're at the game. When they're playing, it's very, very frustrating, and it can make a lot of people. It can bring out the ugly in us, basically, when we have bad beats, or, you know, oh my gosh, one outer, he hits it, you know, that kind of thing. It's an emotional reaction, and some people aren't very good about reining in their emotions. So our goal is to challenge all poker players and operators to raise up the fun and raise up the respect of our fellow poker players. Because if we do those 2 things, if it's a fun place to go, and if we're respectful while we're there, who's not going to want to come and join us? So that's a key factor in growing our game overall. So you know, that's a huge mission. It's a global mission. It's a movement that we're trying to implement and to have people accept and commit to.
Right.
And there's one more thing I wanted to mention about that, Knock. It just left. Oh, don't get old.
It'll come back. Don't worry, I'm already there. I'm already there. Yeah. Now what I was going to ask you next is left as well. But I did have a question.
There you go.
I have a couple of questions that some members that couldn't be here tonight had for you. So this one comes from one of our founders, I think, Chris Jones. And he's wants to hear your thoughts on the latest WPT final table, where half of the 6 final tablists were women. And not only is that final table more representative, but he's also heard that this event attracted more women runners than usual big tourneys in Vegas. And first, he wants to know if that's true. And secondly, is it just luck, or is there something WP is doing differently that you know of?
Well, the good news is that World Poker Tour is very female friendly. I mean, all the way to the top. They have women in very key positions in their company. They are mindful of inclusivity of all players. And those are really, really important things for operators to have. Secondly, the Venetian is also very supportive. I've been working with the Venetian to run the Lips Ladies event in every series every summer for years and years. And, when people when people made choices about coming to Vegas this last time, it was a very short window from the ladies event series and then other main event series. So they were here for about 2 weeks, which it was not an astronomical amount to buy in either. I think it was 1,500 or something like that, maybe 16. But, and there was a lot of opportunities for them to satellite in and that kind of thing. There was an uptick in women participation for that particular event than in the past. It wasn't astronomical, though. But these players that they had there were very skilled. And these gals, everybody has a good run, right? It was just so fantastic to see a final table where it was 50-50. Now, granted, they weren't in the top chip lead. Well, one gal was. She was really doing well. But it was phenomenal. It was on, I believe, the first time that we've been able to say it's not a fluke, because when, somebody makes the final table, like Maria Ho made WPT final table, I think it was the year before COVID. And that was a big deal. And we really went in to go support her. But it was a fluke. Everybody kept saying, oh, it's just Maria. Maria's really good. Yeah. Well, I think that we have a lot of really good players. We have women who now have been playing this game for 10, 15, 20 years. And they've upticked themselves, all the way up into the main games and are finding more and more successes. And this was like the culmination of all of this effort. Ta-da! It finally showed up. And it was so exciting just to see that. And these girls are young and they're smart and they're good players. And it was just a different vibe. If you've ever seen a WPT final table, it's usually very serious and everybody's very, they want to attack their partners and, or their players and get out. There was a lot of smiling going on. There was conversation happening. It was a different dynamic that you don't see at a WPT final table. So it was very refreshing.
Yeah, that was great.
We felt, to see that. So the strong answer to that is we are actually actively, there's several organizations that are actively working on getting women into the game of poker. It's Lips, it's WPA, there's Globetrotting Women, there's Flip, there's all kinds of women's organizations that have that focus. And I think that it's sheer volume. If it's always in your face, people are talking about it. I remember what I wanted to share with you. We also have a program. I know, ta-da, the sun shines. Anyway, for years and years and years, men have come to me and they say, you have all this stuff here at your table and it's all for the girls and stuff. We're men and we can't buy all this stuff, but we want to support you anyway. How can we support you? That has troubled me for years because I could never figure out a way that it was a symbol that men had that they could produce and or wear or whatever and be an instant recognition that man supports women in poker. So very recently, and the Women's Poker Association's color is purple, right? And so you see purple this, and we have purple parties and purple advocate jackets and, all this stuff. So a symbol of a man that's clearly male is a tie. So we have developed a program called the Purple Tie Guy. And the Purple Tie Guy is just a little patch, and it just says, I'm a purple tie guy. He can wear it on his poker jacket, on his hat, wherever he wants to wear it. And instantly it's a recognized thing when a woman sits down at the table that she knows that guy right there supports you being there. So I believe that campaign is going to change. We're going to flood the WSOP with purple tie guy patches. Let me just tell you. So awesome. There will be a conversation about this. And I think it's going to, there's no guy who's going to say, I don't support women. They want women there, So I'm hoping that this campaign will bring voices back to the men who also support what we're trying to do.
Right. That's great. That's amazing. That sounds, I'm going to be looking for those purple ties.
Purple tie patches. They're not purple ties. They're little patches.
Little patches.
It's like, a tuxedo shirt.
Yeah.
That goes like this. Okay. And then there's a tie, but
there's a little purple tie on it.
Shirt and then it's hashtag purple tie guy. It's very simple. Perfect. And the tie has a spade on it. So it's poker, but it's just a little iconic thing. I mean, if I walked in and I was wearing my Padres shirt, you would know I'm a sports fan, right? Well, this little icon will show the poker players that they support women in poker.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. What do you think, Jim? Will you wear one?
Yeah. He's like, I'm in.
Bring it on! Are you kidding? I just shared a picture of me wearing a purple tie for the Reckies last September. I love that idea. I'm already a purple tie guy. Are you kidding?
That's
sign me up.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
that is so cool. And then in our future and stuff, we're going to host purple tie guy tournaments. And thank them for supporting us for what our efforts are and. It's all good stuff.
Lupe, where can I buy a patch or a pin or something to help?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're launching. I'm a purple tie guy. We are launching. What's today? Let me get my little handy dandy calendar. Sorry, it's not this Monday, but the following Monday we launch, and then you just go to the website. You order. You don't have to pay for anything, but just. Register to be a purple tie guy and we send you a patch. And we will have at any of the major series, we'll have advocates who have the patches and we'll just hand them out.
Nice. Well, yeah. Maybe Kim can put something in our forums linking to that or something and we can all get some guys to sign up. That sounds awesome.
I could definitely.
So perfect.
I could definitely do that. Definitely. I saw that a recent post that there's going to be a series coinciding with the WSOP this fall.
Yes, that's the brand new International Women's Poker Championship, International Women's Poker Championship. There was a lot of discussion with a lot of the groups that women have, like the European women have groups of women, the Canadian women have groups of women, Mexican women that play together. We just wanted to have something that was super international, but it was a festival, not just the one WSOP, which is a World Series event. Right. But so we started calling around saying, hey, how do you want to participate? Well, the Women's Poker Association is definitely going to do an annual conference. They're going to have keynote speakers and, some breakout sessions. And, I don't know exactly what's all going to happen, but that'll be there. The Women in Poker Hall of Fame has been on hiatus because of the COVID year was last year. It was supposed to be last year. So it'll be this year. So that's going to get incorporated in there. And it'll also be on the international platform. And the Mike Sexton Poker Throwdown. The Poker Throwdown is something that we did for Jennifer Harmon for years for the Nevada SPCA and for the National Kidney Foundation. And then it just went on hiatus as well. Well, we're bringing it back. And the Mike Sexton family has gifted us with being able to use his name in all of our charity work because Mike is one of our original founders. So we are going to bring back the Mike Sexton Charity Poker Throwdown, which is a team competition within a regular tournament, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow, so, that sounds great. That sounds awesome.
There'll be that. And then, of course, the championship, the International Ladies Championship, which will be a 2-day, day 1A, day 1B, and then the day 2.
And the dates are, do you know the dates off the top of your head?
It's the 6th through the 10th And then the 11th is the ladies WSOP. And we were so fortunate this year because this plan has been in action for a long time. And then the WSOP moved to October. I picked up the phone and said, all right, you guys, we've been working really hard. Don't you squash us. This effort is too big. They were super cool. They said, what dates do you want? So we plugged it in, right? So it would be, all packed into that week. And they were phenomenal. So we're going to do the warm-up event with them on that night, of Sunday night, before the 10th in the evening. We'll be doing a 150 warm-up event at the Rio. And then on Mondays, the ladies WSOP. So we've incorporated it into the festival.
And are those meetings that you said, are they open to the general public, or are they only open to members?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's put it this way. The Women's Poker Association is free to join. Okay. You do have to join, because if you join, then you get discounts. It's going to not do that, right? It's like, okay, well, you can pay the full price, but if you're a member, you get that price, and it'll be a breakfast and all that kind of thing for the conference. And then the Women in Poker Hall of Fame is a luncheon, and literally we pay like, I think it's a $50 ticket or something like that. It just covers the lunch, for the ceremony and the room and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, we get sponsored just to pay for trophies and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. So I know I see my friend Stuart's here. He's came late, but I think he had been wondering about the senior poker tour. When is that still going? And
okay, senior poker tour. Let me just tell you, oh my gosh, I hate COVID. But before COVID hit, and I'll give you we started the senior poker tour in 2013. It was
in Tunica.
Trying to remember where our first event was. It might be, but in Tunica was always very supportive. We've always had good support in certain areas. And then it was like trying to blow up the door to be able to get somebody to open it so we can have a conversation. The seniors events in any festival are always popular. So it was like very frustrating to say, why won't you support this series? Just have a whole series for the senior poker tour. So we had to go back and revamp the program in order to give them something that was special. They felt like they had seniors in their room every day. It was not a big deal. So we revamped it to the senior poker tour hosting a senior state championship. So that's how we started to grow. COVID the year of 2020 had 7 locations that were brand new. So we were going to have already 10. So there was almost one every month in a different location, a different state that has legalized poker. And then COVID hit, and half of those rooms aren't opening again. It's like, dang. So we're back to square one on that. We do have, of course, Tunica. And again, there's a problem with the volume of staff in a lot of these poker rooms. They might have the capacity, but they don't have enough staff that has returned to be able to, to be able to do the functionality of the entire series.
Right.
So it's been a real hard conversation for the senior poker tour. I'm just very fortunate that the relationships that I have all around the country are not the same. The people have changed in many, many card rooms. They're no longer there. They've even changed professions, not even in poker world. So it's finding who's gone where they're at now, and then calling them up and saying, okay, what's going on? Let's talk about, the future. I don't think the senior poker tour is going to have a very big resurgence until 2022. And that's not the only tour that is struggling. There's other tours that are used to having those relationships, like Heartland Poker Tour is not coming back at all, and they even have their infrastructure in place with their own properties. So there's just a lot of people who are in the shakedown it's hard to see where it's going to go. But I'm just the most tenacious person in the world, and I don't take no very easily.
Right. And judging from these big turnouts. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, we have a really good turnouts, and everybody's going to be a senior at some point, hopefully.
Yeah, and so judging from the big turnouts everywhere. Everywhere is having big turnouts. Everywhere that's starting the series, Florida, Vegas, wherever. So I think there's definitely going to be a real resurgence of live poker when it gets back going again and people feel safe to come out and play again. Right.
Well, I just spoke to New Hampshire this morning. Boston Encore is not reopening. And so their lines, and they're a card room that can only be open, I think, from 11 in the morning till 2 in the next morning. And they have people who come and bring lawn chairs to get in line to be on the list. They'll have 200 people on a cash game waiting list at their room. It's so crazy because there's no poker to be played. So when there is someplace locally, people are just jamming and, wanting to be there. We miss the game. It's a very phenomenal game,
Sorry, my daughter's just saying there's a scary raccoon outside.
A scary what?
Raccoon by our hot tub outside.
That's funny.
First world problems. It's like, anyway, so I'm going to open this up to anybody else that's here, Harold or Kelly or Elizabeth. Stuart, do you have any more questions for Lupe?
Just wondering what the inspiration was to start the seniors tour. Was it so you didn't have all these young guns with the headphones and the sunglasses on playing with us?
Well, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a series called the Grand Series at the Golden Nugget. It's their summer series that happens every year. And I started that series with my friend, John Colville, who was at the time, the poker room manager. And then he got promoted to vice president of poker operations and all that. And him and I were friends. And so when we started doing this, I said, look, I want the ladies and I want the seniors. That's what I want. And we grew the seniors so fast. Ladies we still had great, ladies events, and we would have like one or two, but the seniors event was explosive. That's when I realized that this is something that we could actually take. If you looked at the numbers of the WSOP, and then the seniors event was, besides the main event, it was the second most popular.
That's
so
the reason.
that's
the reason I go. That's one of the reasons I go down for the WSOP, is mainly for the seniors.
And if you're playing with people that are 50 and over, it's a different game.
It's fun.
It's old school poker. It's ABC poker in a lot of ways. And although a lot of us have had to learn the new ram and jam kind of poker player that's out there, but you kind of like enjoy the game when you go play a senior event. It's like being in a home game. You feel that warmth. It's really awesome. So that was really why, was because of the enjoyment I had. I'm old, it's like I was a senior. I just felt like it was my next progression. If I'm going to be in the industry, it would be fun to do that. And there's no drama with seniors like there is with other young people, and they're respectful, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to work in the senior poker.
Right.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite events are playing the seniors events. I do enjoy it. Yeah.
And everybody looks forward to it. I'm going to be 50 next year. I get to play, So it's like your rite of passage, It's cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
It looks like you've been back to South Point a couple of times. Are there properties you prefer to work with or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On a third party operator position, which is what I am, it is so nice to work with independent casinos because there's very little bureaucracy. When I work with the big, just to be able to pass out prizes at a Caesars event where we aren't getting paid, we're not doing it, we're just passing out prizes, it's an 18-page contract. it's a lot of red tape, and there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of insurance, and there's all this stuff that's involved. But when you go to an independent casino, and that's why I loved like Golden Nugget. Now I'm with the South Point down here, because it's me, the poker room manager, and the owner, the GM or the owner, right there. It's a very short ladder to get things done. And if the owner is supportive of poker, and fortunately the Golden Nugget owner is a poker player, and the South Point owner is a poker player, it makes all the difference in the world. They're just so easy to work with. So yes, the answer to that is I love independent operators. They're very, very easy, and operators, even if they're a bigger corporation, if they have had many years there, because they're very well established, they can go in and say, this is what I want to do in my room. And there's not a whole lot of kickback or feedback that's negative. They're more open to those people. So those are my two favorite kinds. Yeah.
That's good. Anyone else?
I just want to say, I don't have a question, but I just want to say that I really enjoyed this session. Like, Lupe, you are just a wealth of information. The time has flown by so quickly. I did prepare some questions, but you've actually covered them. So just wanted to say thanks. It was really awesome to listen to you talk. Because for me, I've never had this opportunity before. So I'm very thankful that Kim has got you to come on here and speak to all of us. It's been quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. And one of the things I learned, I'm very close with Linda Johnson. Linda Johnson, First Lady Poker, the world knows who she is. She used to be very shy. She was the commentator on the World Poker Tour when it first started. The in-house commentator, Mike and Vince Van Patten were on the stage, like doing the television part, but she was the one in the house, and she was like really intimidated. And now she says, give me the mic. I'm a mic ho. I feel that way too. it's like I remember being terrified to do anything. And it's now, honestly, everybody in the industry who has been in the industry for a length of time has so many wonderful stories to tell. And I hope at some point somebody makes an archive, a real archive of some of these phenomenal people, because I'm really new to the game in a lot of ways, even though it's 20 years down the road now. Well, I didn't even know who Linda Johnson was when I first started. I didn't know about, those people who were really groundbreaking for people to be able to enjoy the game the way it is. So I want the Hall of Fame isn't big enough. The Poker Hall of Fame isn't big enough. They are only picking one or two people out of thousands of phenomenal people. And we need a library, a real library of poker history that, a poker museum, new project. I don't know. Anyway.
Great idea.
I think that would be great. Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's been a pleasure being here, you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you here. And we won't take up any more of your time, but maybe we'll get you back one day. And hope to see you in the fall. If people want to get in touch with you, where do they reach you? Twitter, Facebook, what, WPA?
To reach me personally, it's very, very easy. Email. It's lupe@lupesoto.com. or Poker Lupe on Twitter @Poker Lupe. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Lupe. It was wonderful to talk to you. You've been a great guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
All right, we're back. And as we always know, these are the best interviews in the history of all time. We were wowed and amazed by them all. But in all seriousness, I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks for tuning in. We're going to take a little time to talk about some rec poker stuff now. And one of the things that I think I'm really excited to announce, I just got a text from Jim in Vegas saying, yep, we're good to go. We can announce the rec poker days at Running Aces are going to be August 4th and 5th. We're going to probably have some sort of maybe farewell breakfast or something on the 6th as well, the Sunday the 6th. But Friday, August 4th, Saturday, August 5th, There's going to be things going, I think there'll be tournaments to play. There's going to be some activities. Not fully, I don't have all the details yet. Those will be coming shortly, but save the dates. And if you're able to make it, come join us at Running Aces. We'll have a really good time. The last time we had a really nice turnout. We're hoping for even a better one this time. And fun will be had, and tears will be shed, and it'll be all really great. So, but I'm excited for that. I think that's a fun weekend, and it's one that we're really looking forward to kind of putting on the calendar on a annual basis or whatever. What else is going on, John? I know we have some home game results. Maybe we should tune into that part.
That sounds like an excellent idea. And one that I should have been prepared and ready for.
Or I can shift into talking about
we got it. They're ready. I just lost my screen where they were sitting. So we'll start off the second Wednesday of every month is our mixed game series. So where you get points for earning your each year, and then whoever gets the most points throughout the year earns their title and gets a pin for that series. On June 14th, we played that game. It was Limit Omaha 8 or better, and Jay Mayusa Junamoto got his first mixed game series victory. Then for the daily series Tournament of Champions, that was played on Monday, June 12th, and Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld, won his very first Tournament of Champions, and I believe that is his third silver pin overall. And he is increasing his lead on everyone else with 53 lifetime victories.
Wow. So impressive.
I know. I was actually a little surprised I got through two of them without any interruptions, but I guess it's because Jim's not here. Then on June 12th, PetVet 33, Kim Kilroy got her third nightly victory. CK Fam, Carol Hockman, so I'm guessing that's Carol K. P. Ham. Carol Hammock got her first nightly victory, her first victory for Rec Poker at all.
Nice.
Overall. GF Hawk, Eric Romer, got his third nightly victory for the year. Digging 8 Graves, Chris Simonu got his fourth nightly victory for the year. Now Then KB, Private, got his fourth nightly victory for the year. Beat Chip, Charles Allen, got his fourth daily mixed practice victory for the year.
Man, he's a mixed game shark too, isn't he?
Yeah, we're getting there's a lot of talented people here in Rec Poker. I am surprised they let me play with them.
Yeah, we play. Charles plays on the Peel a lot, and he'll be usually multi-tabling some PLO game somewhere else. So he's definitely a mixed game player.
Then Larson's opening, George Borden got his third international victory for the year. And B-Chip, Charles Allen, got his second international victory for the year. And Izima got his first victory, or his first LPP victory. So he won the LPP event, so he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker. But that's not all. There is a bonus one this week, and that was the Heads Up event.
Oh,
so there is a little bit of controversy here.
Asterisks.
When I created the Heads Up event, I accidentally created it as a 9-handed event rather than so it was a shootout, but a 9-handed shootout, which requires a minimum of 18 players, which we did not get. So it was canceled, and I had to reschedule it for 2:05. So it did not play at the original time. I apologize for anyone who didn't get back into it, but that should not diminish the accomplishment of K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton, who won his first daily Heads Up championship and has earned his way into Marek Madness to be played next year.
Wow. That's those are coveted seats into Marek Madness. So congrats. Yeah, and I mean it only played like an hour or two later, right? So nobody can really There's no real asterisk.
It was supposed to be at 1 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters, but it was at 2:05 Central Time, the only time zone that matters.
Yeah. People had better had I mean, when you're playing in the heads up thing too, you got to block off some time. You got to be ready to play. So that makes that. So yeah. All right. Rob, anything? What's going on in your neck of the woods, Rick? Where we talked a little bit about the book study, but what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, that's about, we're talking GTO Poker Simplified by Dara Carney, and I'm finding some revelations as I go through this. We've gone through modern poker theory, we've gone through the poker brain, but I think it's the way that Dara Carney presents the information that really it speaks to a rec poker player. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot to be gained, even though we've been talking about GTO the last bunch of books already. It's just another way of looking at it, and I think there's definitely some revelations to be gained by reading this book. So I would encourage everybody to get involved in the book and get involved in the book study, because we have a lot of fun. We get 6 to 8 people and we talk over situations, and people share their experiences and how these things have affected them, or thoughts that they have based on things that they've seen at the table. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if somebody's saying, well, but I missed the first few, but they can always catch up, right? They're all posted on the site. You can catch up. So if you're kind of like, I'd like to join that, but I don't want to feel out of it, you can go back and watch the first couple sessions and join catch up where everyone is, and join midway through. So,
yep.
All right. Well, I'm rapidly realizing that we were going to do a giveaway tonight, but the giveaway was related to the guest that we were supposed to have that then fell through. So then we had to do the pre-recorded one. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to give away, but I think maybe we'll do a giveaway and I'll let Jim deal with the fallout of what that actually should be. So we're giving away something. It's something awesome. And all you got to do is type food bank into the chat. And then we'll figure out what that giveaway is.
I think it's generally a free month to rec poker.
Yeah. Well, we had a special. I had a special prize for tonight, but I'm realizing I shouldn't get, because it was supposed to be with the guests who were supposed to be on the show tonight. But so that I don't think I can give that away till they're on the show.
Well, regardless, whatever it is, it will be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. And you can type that in the email to info@rec.poker if you're the winner, and say, I was promised something awesome. And then Jim will figure out how to deliver that on that promise.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, for sure. So be sure you're typing food bank into the chat. We'll give that a few more minutes to populate in. I will just also sort of add, we all kidding aside, if you haven't been following some of the Vegas happenings, Rec Poker and Minnesota Poker has been doing really phenomenally well in Vegas this summer. So both Jim and Taylor played in the Monster Stack, and we'll in a future show, I'm sure we'll ask them about it. But they both cashed. So congrats to them. Both made some runs into a bracelet event. And we've also had some friends of the show make some really deep runs. Louis Hillman, who is a sometimes poster, often on we've had some of his hands in the forums episodes of the show, made a final table in the Limit Championship, and was on Poker Go, and that was pretty cool. And then he almost double final tabled 2 bracelet events in a row. He played the Deuce to 7 triple draw event, and he got 10th. So, but that's pretty impressive. That's a hell of a run. And then one of our guests recently, Wesley Cannon, also a Minnesota friend of the show of Rec Poker, made a very deep run and took third in one of the recent Bracelet events too. So congrats to all the people. Oh, and Ian Matakis is currently leading the player of the year. Now, I see he had a tweet about this where he was like, "Somebody teach me some mixed games," because I don't think he plays very many mixed games, and you don't have a great chance of winning player of the year if you don't play the mixed games. But he should come and play in the practice games at Rec.Poker, right? And then maybe he can just go become player of the year. But he's had a phenomenal run this year so far. I think he's cashed 9 out of 10 events or something like that. He won a bracelet, an online bracelet. He's been just on a tear. So congrats to all those folks. I watch
a lot of poker vlogs, and I watched Daniel Negreanu's, and that's where I saw that Ian Matakis was leading the player of the year. And then today I was watching Lexi Gavin's, and she was playing in the $800 Deet Step or something like that. And there was a cameo. The player sitting just to her right was Rob Wazwaz.
So
nice. Another Minnesota player that got a little cameo on Lexi Gavin's vlog today. So that was kind of fun.
Now, and I know not everyone in Rec Poker Land is not Minnesota players, and we're not trying to make this just the Minnesota show, but it did get its start in Minnesota, and it's kind of fun to see a lot of these players having some really great success at this year's WSOP. So, I think that's enough time. Do you think we've got all our food banks going in here?
I think so.
Okay, all right. I'm counting 5 of them. Is that what you're seeing as well?
That is what I am seeing.
And I see Phil first, Hawk plays second, Eric Anderson third, Gibber fourth, and Luke O fifth. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, it is.
All right. These are the only 5 people eligible to win the awesome prize. So away we go. It is a 3, which means Eric Anderson is the recipient of said awesome prize. Send an email to info@rec.poker and tell them that Chris Jones sent you and said it would be awesome. And then we'll have Jim figure that out. I love this power as host is kind of intoxicating. You can just sort of like give things away, and you don't have to deal with the repercussions. All right. So with that, I think we're going to wrap things up. I do think that I was remiss in thanking our sponsor, Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino
Actually, you were remiss in not thanking them.
Well, right.
Yeah. I mean,
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I was remiss in not thanking them. We couldn't do this without them. They're a really great partner. We're really excited to have the Rec Poker Day coming up. They've also got some really interesting tournaments coming up soon. So check out their schedule, check out their site, and come play with us August 4th and 5th at Running Aces. But until then, I want to thank John and Rob for joining me. I want to thank Running Aces for sponsoring us. And I want to thank, as always, you, the listener. We couldn't do this without you. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think of doing this strategy segment when we are sort of guest list. And we'll see you again next time.